There are many great examples of fantasy animals, in D&D or otherwise. However, fantasy plants and plant creatures are a bit more sparse on the ground. They are one of the least explored creature types in D&D, but plants have some of the most interesting designed monsters in 5th edition. Welcome to Critically Misused, a show where we look at misunderstood aspects of D&D. On this episode, we'll be covering some obscure plants that will shake up your campaign. We'll start strong with the drastory, a monster released in the build-up to Spelljammer. They were the dead or infected branches of the world tree that fell off and were sent hurling through the multiverse into practically every setting. Not too fond of being thrown aside, the drastory will take out their anger on whoever happens to be nearest, which is most likely the party. When I started making this video, the drastory brought a smile to my face, as it reminded me fondly of the galvanized prowler, one of Monkey DM's most iconic homebrew creations. Both monsters are immune to lightning damage, the damage of optimizers thanks to lightning resistance and immunity being relatively uncommon. Worse still, when these monsters take lightning damage, they gain the ability to send it back at their opponents. The drastory makes it even worse, for it can shove creatures into chambers in its body in order to hold them down and make them take lightning damage as well. It's a wild encounter for a heavily optimized party, provided none of them have the spell Blight. Corpse Flower has a similar purpose, an unexpected and unpredictable threat to uproot your party. Corpse Flowers are hulking, skull-adorned plant monsters that stash dead bodies away for consuming or reanimating. Each corpse the flower carries can be digested for a total of 11 hit points or reanimated into a zombie, turning the action economy into the flower's favor. They keep the signature stench of the real-life corpse flowers too, as do all their zombies, meaning several party members will be struggling with the poison condition while fighting the corpse flower. Plants have more to offer than just horrible monsters though, as Spelljammer introduced us to a sentient plant race, the arctokes. Bizarre, thorny starfishes that spit radiant pellets and grapple you with their tongues. Though the book describes them as violent raiders, that's not how I see them. Their homeworld was destroyed by beholders, and their priests had the language spell tongues, hinting at a more complex backstory than was first apparent. With that in mind, let me show you how I ran these unique-looking monsters. At the start of my Spelljammer campaign, I had a living ship covered in vines approach the party's vessel. The players had been warned about the dangers of arctokes in Session 0, and were ready to fight. But as the living ship approached, they realized the arctokes weren't readying for combat. They were moving strangely to otherworldly music, but didn't seem to be taking up arms. The priest on board cast tongues and invited the players to join the dance party. Though awkward to humanoid interaction, I interpreted the arctokes as well-meaning refugees. They explained the situation of their home world and that they were searching for one they could share. One player even empathized, for they too had been exiled from their home world. In exchange for some stories and company, they offer the party much-needed rations, which happened to be poisonous, but only because the arctokes didn't understand humanoid stomachs. It was one of my proudest first sessions, one that demonstrates how any monster can be interesting, given a little bit of depth. Our fourth creature also hails from Spelljammer, shockingly. The Gadabout functions as a living spacesuit for astral elves and their allies. As long as it has sun and water, the plant provides a steady supply of air to keep the creature it has grappled alive, as well as a 60-foot fly speed with hover. Though these creatures can be easily killed and are very expensive to replace, they are better than most magic items for both mobility and air. It's a broom of flying and a cap of water breathing all in one. Who wouldn't benefit from that? The veget pygmies, recommended by Clayton Wild, are monsters as overlooked as jackal bears, but that works to their benefit. Most experienced players will know how to stop a troll's regeneration, but pygmies rarely get discussed or used in game, making finding out their behaviors and weaknesses a true surprise. Veget pygmies start life as moss that heavily resembles rust, called russet moss, as it turns out. If a humanoid beast or giant approaches, the moss will blast them with spores, infecting them and potentially killing them. Veget pygmies will grow out of the corpse, spreading the moss to new areas like a scaled-down version of the World Enders. There are very specific signs and weaknesses, which I won't entirely spoil for the players watching this, are what make them stand out to me. I imagine they would make a great Witcher-style session, where players have to research the pygmies and locate them through investigation and cunning. The plants we've covered so far are practically animals, with how complex their movement and behaviors are. While I love all of them, it's important to consider how actual plants would fit into your setting too. What kinds of flowers, crops, and trees exist in your homebrew world? And how do they affect the people and the environment nearby? As an example, my homebrew red-bottled tree is a solitary hardwood that grows in tropical forests. Its signature red fruits can replace 25 gold pieces worth of components in a healing potion, making them a valuable find for jungle explorers. The demand for the fruits has driven the trees to near extinction within 25 miles of every settlement. Attempts have been made to farm them responsibly, but the harvests are inevitably stolen or eaten by animals. If each plant you design, moving, magical, or mundane, has this level of detail, your homebrew world will feel interconnected and real. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you've made it this far, consider dropping a like and subscribing, and perhaps suggest a monster you'd like to see me cover in the comments below. Bookworm Knight and Clayton Wild pushed me towards this topic, which turned out to be more interesting than I thought. Safe travels until we meet again.